Shalom. I want to start by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakahakadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone, from whom I learned this truth. Shalom to the 144,000 elect. And I am Ayok Allah. Continuing on with part 12 of the series, How Do I Know That I'm an Israelite, a Hebrew Israelite, or how do I know that we are the Hebrew Israelites? And when I say we, I'm referring to the so-called blacks, Latinos, and the natives of this land that you call America. Getting right into part 12. Where we last left off was in Genesis chapter 32. And in that chapter that we learned that Jacob's name, after wrestling with an angel all night, had been changed from Jacob to Israel. And we know that in the Paleo-Hebrew, or the Lashuan Kadesh, that's the holy language, that it would be Yashar Allah, meaning he is Prince of Power. And I'm going to go over to chapter 35. And this won't be a very long lesson because we're getting close to having all the names of the progenitors of the 12 tribes of Israel. And I'm going to go over to chapter 35. And I'm going to start at verse 10. And it says, "And the Most High said unto him, Thy name is Jacob. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall by thy name. And he called his name Israel." Now with that name comes an inheritance, and that with that name you see the beginning of the nation of Israel. And like I said before, this is where we see that Israel is a people, and it was a people before it was a place. And I just want to go over to Romans chapter 9, verse 4, because this is where we see Paul talking to some of the Israelites in Rome. And he's just sharing what some of that inheritance entails. This is chapter 9. In verse 4, it says, "Who are Israelites." Paul himself is an Israelite, so he's just speaking and saying to the Israelites in Rome what it entails being part of that lineage, and what the heirs of that lineage have inherited. It says, "To whom pertaineth the adoption." Now, when he's talking about the adoption, it's because, as we will learn later on, that the Lord had turned his face away from the nation of Israel before they were a very stiff-necked people, and they had turned their back on the Father and didn't want to do his commandments and do what was expected of them, to have that inheritance. And I'll start again. It says, Romans 9 and 4, "Who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption, and the glory, and the covenants, and the giving of the law, and the service of the Most High, and the promises." So Paul is just saying what comes along with being an inheritance, what comes along with that inheritance, that we were given the commandments, given the laws, and the service that we should have for the Most High and the promises that he's made to the Israelites. So I just wanted to show that the Father is the same and his people are the same from both the Old Testament to the New Testament. Father does not change. Even though he had turned his face away from us from our time, he is adopting us back, and you can see that in the New Testament. I'm going to go back to Genesis chapter 35 and continue on from verse 10. It says, "And the Most High said unto him, Thy name is Jacob. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name. And he called his name Israel. And the Most High said unto him, I am the Most High Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of thee, and kings shall come out of thy loins. And the land which I gave Abraham and Isaac, to thee I will give it, and to thy seed after thee I will give the land." So that land that we call Israel today, this is what the promise is, that the fathers, letting Jacob know that that land is what the Israelites would inherit. Verse 13, "And the Most High went up from him in the place where he talked with him. And Jacob set up a pillar in the place where he talked with him, even a pillar of stone. And he poured a drink offering thereon, and he poured oil thereon. And Jacob called the name of the place where the Most High spake with him Bethel." And I'm going to stop right there. Let's take a look and see what that name Bethel means. And I'm going to go into the blue letter. And it is H1008. And I'll let you hear a pronunciation of it.
Bethel. Bethel.
And it means the house of the Most High, ancient place and seat of worship in Ephraim on border of Benjamin, identified with Luz. It says a place in south country of Judah, not far from Beersheba and Ziklag. And continuing on, verse 16 says, and they journeyed from Bethel, and there was but a little way to come to Ephrath. And Rachel travailed, and she had hard labor. And it came to pass, when she was in hard labor, that the midwife said unto her, Fear not, thou shalt have this son also. And it came to pass, as her soul was in departing, for she died, that she called his name Ben-Oni, but his father called him Benjamin. And we're going to take a look and see what both of those names mean. So we learn that Rachel has just given birth to another son for Jacob. Now Rachel wanted to name him Benoni, which is H1126, and we'll see what that means. And I'll give you a pronunciation of it.
Strong's H1126. Bane. Bane.
And Bane means son. And it says the definition is son of my sorrow. It says the name given to Benjamin by Rachel. So she wanted to name him son of my sorrow. But it was not to be, because Jacob, or Israel, his father, named him Benjamin, and it is H1144. And I'll give you a pronunciation of it. We have to keep in mind that this pronunciation may be a pronunciation given in the Yiddish, and I'll give you the correct
Strong's
pronunciation.
H1144. Benjamin. Benjamin.
Now in the Paleo Hebrew, the Lashon Kodesh, his name is Benyamin. And we're going to go over to Genesis 49 and 27. Benyamin means son of the right. And we'll just get a little bit more of the meaning here from Genesis 49, which we've been referring to, where Jacob, or Israel, gathered all his sons. And we're in 49, in verse 27, it says, Benjamin shall raven as a wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil. And like I said before, Lord willing, in a future lesson we'll be able to go over where these tribes are today, and these meanings will give you more understanding once you're able to match them up as to where they reside and where they live today. But one thing that I also wanted to keep in mind too is that seeing how Rachel had died at this point, giving birth, and this would be the youngest son, Benjamin, it just takes me back over to let's go back over to Genesis 31. In verse 32, because this is where Rachel had taken the idols or gods of her father Laban, and Jacob did not know, because Laban had pursued them after they had already decided that they were going to leave and go back to the land. So Laban was in pursuit of them. And I'm just going to read verse 32. It says, because Laban had accused Jacob of taking his gods, and Jacob didn't know what he was speaking of. But little did he know that Rachel had taken Laban's gods. And it reads, this is chapter 31 and verse 32, with whomsoever thou findest thy gods, this is Jacob talking to Laban, says, let him not live. Before our brethren discern thou what is thine with me, and take it to thee. For Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them. So I just wanted to bring that out, because Jacob, not knowing, he says, let whomever you find your gods with, let them die. And we see Rachel has died, giving birth to Benjamin, the youngest son. And I'm going to go back over to Genesis chapter 35. And I'm at verse 19. It says, and Rachel died and was buried in the way of Ephrath, which is Bethlehem. And let's just take a look and see what Bethlehem means. And I'm looking in the blue letter. And it is H1035. And I'll give you a pronunciation.
Strong's H1035. Bethlehem. Bethlehem.
And the definition reads, the house of bread, a city of Judah, the birthplace of David. And I'm back in Genesis 35, verse 20 says, and Jacob set a pillar upon her grave. That is the pillar of Rachel's grave until this day. And I'm not going to read all of that chapter because I'm just wanting to move along as much as we can and try to bring out, because we're getting close to all 12 of the progenitors being named of the tribes of Israel. And I know you're thinking that we've already named 12 sons, but like I said before, I want to remind you that there is no tribe of Dan. Dan has been mixed in to all the other tribes. So, or actually, it seems like we've named 10 of the tribes already, because we still have 2 more yet to go. But we have not named 10. We've really only named Shalakia. It seems like we've named 11 of the tribes already, but we've only actually named 10 of the tribes. Because like I said, there is no tribe of Dan. Dan has been mixed in with all the other tribes. So I'm going to go over to Genesis chapter 37. Because we're beginning to see, this is going to give you a little bit of information to see how the Israelites came to be in the land of Egypt. And it's kind of important that it is important that you go back and read all of this, because like I said, I'm jumping around a little bit and I'm leaving out a lot of information. But I'm trying to give as much as I can, in the time frame that I have. But you should definitely go back and read this whole chapter. I'm at Genesis chapter 37 and I'm going to start at 1. And this is just talking about a dream that Joseph has had. And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his sons, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him, and could not speak peaceably unto him. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we are binding sheaves in the field, and lo, thy sheaf arose and also stood upright, and behold, your sheaves stood round about and made obeisance to my sheep. Obeisance to my sheep, Shalakia. And we can look up obeisance, because that's not an everyday word. And I'm going to go to Google for that. And obeisance means differential respect. Some of the similar words are respect, homage, or worship. So in his dream, their chiefs were giving homage or paying respect to his chief. So his brothers didn't like this dream very much. You could probably guess. Says, "For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaf stood round about and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us? Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream and told it his brethren and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren. And his father rebuked him and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee, to the earth? So even Jacob didn't like this dream too much, but Jacob knew that it had some type of meaning. And we're just going to go over to Revelation chapter 12 and verse 1, because that dream was also seen by Joseph the Revelator. When he was having visions when he was on the island of Patmos. I'm just going to read just that first verse. It says, Revelation chapter 12 and verse 1, And there appeared great wonder in heaven, and a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and up under her head a crown of 12 stars. Now those 12 stars would represent the 12 tribes of Israel. And that woman would be does represent Israel, Salakia. Just wanted to bring that out also. So I'm going to go back over into Genesis. And I'm going to read down to about 14. It says, verse 11, And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the saying. And his brethren went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. And Israel said unto Joseph, Do not thy brethren feed the flock in Shechem? Come, and I will send thee unto them. And he said to him, Here I am. And he said to him, Go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brethren, and well with the flocks, and bring me word again. So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. So he sent Joseph out to check on his brothers and make sure that things were going well with the sheep. And I'm going to stay in Genesis 37, but I'm going to drop down to verse 26, because we're going to see that his brothers are going to make a plan because they don't like their brother Joseph. And I'm going to start at verse 26. It says, "And Judah said unto the brethren, What profit is it if we slay our brother?" So they were thinking about killing their brother. Yeah, but Judah was objecting to it. He said, "What profit if we slay our brother and conceal his blood?" It says, "Come and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh." And his brethren were content. Then they passed by Midianites' merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit. So they had thrown him in a pit, so they wanted to take him up out of the pit because they were going to sell him. They lifted Joseph up out of the pit and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And they brought Joseph into Egypt. So the Midianites took him, or the Ishmaelites took him into Egypt. Verse 29, "And Reuben returned unto the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit, and he rent his clothes. And he returned unto his brethren and said, The child is not, and I, whither shall I go? And they looked, and they took Joseph's coat and killed a kid of the goats and dipped the coat in the blood. And they sent the coat of many colors, and they brought it to their father and said, This have we found. Know now whether it be thy son's coat or no. And he knew it and said, It is my son's coat. An evil beast has devoured him. Joseph is without doubt rent in pieces. And Jacob rent his clothes and put sackcloth upon his loins and mourned for his son many days. So when he says he rent his clothes, that means he ripped his clothes and he put on a sackcloth, meaning he put on a garment for mourning, because he's mourning the loss of Joseph. Verse 35, and all his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, For I will go down into the grave until my son mourning. Thus his father wept for him. And the Midianites sold him into Egypt unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's and captain of the guard. So while Jacob's thinking that he has been torn to pieces by an animal, in all actuality, Midianites had taken him to Egypt. And when they took him to Egypt, they sold him to one of the Pharaoh's officers. Now I'm going to jump over to chapter 41. And I'm just going to read a little bit of what's taking place now that Joseph is in Egypt and has been sold. And I'm in chapter 41. I'm going to go down to verse 15. And the Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it. So just to fill you in a little bit, that Joseph had been accused of a crime that he did not commit. The Pharaoh's wife wanted Joseph to go in unto her, and he did not do that. So she accused him of trying to grape her without the G, so you can understand. And because he had been accused of, the Pharaoh threw him into prison. And while he was in jail, he interpreted dreams of a couple of the other prisoners who were servants of Pharaoh. And when the time had come that one of the servants was let out of jail, he went on to tell Pharaoh that Joseph could interpret dreams. So that's where we're picking this up at verse 15. And I'll start again at verse 15. It says, "And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it." So he wants Joseph to interpret this dream. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, It is not in me. The Most High shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. So Joseph is doing what he should be doing. It's not him that's interpreting his dream. It's the Most High that's allowing Joseph to be able to interpret this dream. And the Pharaoh said unto Joseph, In my dream, behold, I stood upon the bank of the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 kine, fat-fleshed and well-favored, and they fed in a meadow. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them, poor and very ill-favored, and lean-fleshed, such as I never saw in all the land of Egypt, for badness. And the lean and the ill-favored kine did eat up the first 7 fat kine. And when they had eaten them up, it could not be known that they had eaten them, but they were still ill-favored as at the beginning. So I awoke, and I saw in my dream, and behold, 7 ears came up in one stalk, full of good. And behold, 7 ears withered thin, and blasted with the east wind sprung up after them. And the thin ears devoured the 7 good ears, and I told this unto the magicians, but there was none that could declare it to me. And Joseph said unto Pharaoh, The dream of Pharaoh is one. The Most High have showed Pharaoh what he is about to do. Verse 26, And the 7 good kine are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one. And the 7 thin and ill-favored kine that came up after them are 7 years. And the 7 empty ears blasted with the east wind shall be 7 years of famine. This is the thing which have spoken unto Pharaoh, and the Most High is about to do. He showeth unto Pharaoh, Behold, there came 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt. And there shall arise after them 7 years of famine, and all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land, and the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason that famine following, for it shall be very grievous. And for that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice. It is because the thing is established by the Most High, and the Most High will shortly bring it to pass. Now therefore let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in 7 plenteous years, and let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up the corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities. And that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not through the famine. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh, and the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said unto the servants, Can we find such a one as this is, a man in whom the Spirit of the Most High is? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, Forasmuch as the Most High have showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. So Pharaoh's saying that Joseph is a very wise man, and he's seeing that the Most High is dealing with Joseph. So for Joseph coming up, that there should be one that the Pharaoh appoints to govern the land, the Pharaoh is looking at Joseph as being that man. And the Pharaoh, verse 39, and the Pharaoh said unto Joseph, Forasmuch as the Most High has showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, See, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. So the Pharaoh is going to set Joseph in a high position to be over all the land. And just in the interest of time, I'm going to stop right here because I just wanted to give you some background on the position that Joseph is in Egypt. He is he's second to Pharaoh in the rulership of the land of Egypt. So I'm going to stop right here, and Lord willing, we'll be able to continue on in the next part as we begin to see how the Israelites begin to dwell in the land of Egypt. And I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKadosh, Shalom.